copy. Then I'll go to a blank word processor document. Paste. So now I have the questions in here and I'm ready to start answering them as I go along. So now let's go back to the class. I can see the first question, why will you download Multimedia Fusion toward the end of the course? So that's what I want to have in my mind. So you'll see that this recording is going to show you where all these answers are. So anyway, we're starting with the course overview section. In the course overview section, you're going to go through the introduction, so you can see that this tells you about what the course is going to be like and the different work you're going to do. And right down here it says, Multimedia Fusion required for Unit 5 should not be downloaded until instructed to do so later. And the reason you have to wait is because it lasts only for 30 days. It's a demo. So if I go back to that question, why will you download only towards the end of the course? Well, the reason is because it is just a demo that lasts for 30 days. So you have to wait later on to download it. So you'll have it for the rest of the semester or the quarter. So that's the answer to number 1. So you'd go ahead and you'd type that answer in here, and I'm just putting in a bunch of junk. You'd type that answer in there. The second one, what is virtual reality technology? So we want to keep that in our mind as we go through the presentation. So we're just going through this introduction, and of course you'll do it on your own. There's the description of the course. There are the objectives for this unit. And then the graded assignments. Now some of these graded assignments have been changed. The points are not the same as they show right here. So to find out exactly what the points are worth, you want to make sure you go to the grade book. And some of these discussions may not have points to them, but you can go in and do the discussions anyway. Okay, Section A. So in Section A, this talks about why we need to look at the history of gaming as you go through this section. So you're going to look at the birth of gaming as you go through this. Look at, again, the history of it. So the history of the 1990s was a new revolution in game design with lots of virtual reality type games started coming in. And if you remember that one question on the Class Connect, it said, what is virtual reality technology? Virtual reality technology is where the player interacts with a computer simulated environment. So there's your answer right there. The player interacts with a computer simulated environment. So I'd go right here. What is virtual reality technology? That's where the player interacts with the gaming environment. So that would be your answer. And number 3, generally speaking, in games, what do goals involve? So we want to keep that in mind as we go through the presentation. Okay, Section B. Section B, player elements. Now player elements are really important parts of games. In this section you're going to learn all about player elements, like what makes a good game in terms of player elements, what different player elements are. And the reason you need to know those things is when you start to design your game, player elements are going to be an important part of it. Challenges and goals. So challenges, they increase the player's interest. So the interactive part of the video games makes people be more interested when there are challenges and when there are goals they need to attain. Now this is important for you because when you start to designing your own game and go through this process, you'll need to come up with what are the challenges and goals of your games. So this is going to talk about difficulty levels, so you read through this, learn about difficulty level, the challenge games, how they test the skill of the player. And ultimately start looking at learning experiences, how participating in the game gives people learning experiences, then you can do better as you move along in the game. Directions are another player element that are really important, and you'll need to create some directions for the game that you make. The controls, same thing. What types of controls will you use? Will it just be keyboard controls, or will you move a mouse, or you have buttons on the screen? Then all about the player elements. I'm talking about the protagonist, which is the key person in the game, the interactivities of games. So these are more player elements that are parts of games. Now, I didn't see that we found the answer to this question. Generally speaking, in games, what do goals involve? So we need to go back and find that answer. If it's in section C. I think it's back here in section A where we talked about, or in section B, I'm sorry. So right here, generally speaking, goals involve some sort of victory or accomplishment. So there's your answer to that one. Goals involve some sort of victory or accomplishment. So that would be your answer to this question. The next question has to do with genre, so we know that's not in this section. So section C, now we're starting to talk about genres in games. Genre is a style or variety. So in your life you'll hear like different genres of music. So what are different genres of music? Well, there's rock and roll, there is jazz, easy listening, country. Those are different genres of music. How about genres of reading? Well, there's mysteries, there's sci-fi, there's adventure books. So those are different genres. So genres in gaming means the style or variety of the games. So if we go back to our question was, what is genre as it relates to games? Well, it's the variety or the types of games that are out there for people to play. So that's what genre is. So in this unit, or this section, you're going to talk about genres. Because when you create your game, you're going to pick the genre that your game is going to be in. So the different genres, of course, there are sports games, like the football and basketball games that you play, the BMX racing games, action games, which that sports games can fall under the action game also, but action games just talks about their physical action as part of the game or the character, like fighting games or driving a race car or something like that. There are fighting games, and you're familiar with those. So down here you read a little bit about fighting games. First-person games. Those are the ones that lots of you play, like the first-person shooter games. So, not that I'm all for the shooting type games, but that's one of the most popular ones out there, isn't it? Third-person games. So you can see you're playing from another person's point of view. So you kind of overlook the person. You're like on their shoulder. Gears of War, Devil May Cry, different things like that. Puzzle games. No need to explain any more about that. Role-playing games. These are ones that are obviously getting much more popular. And some of these names down here might be older names. I'm sure you know more of the reality-based role-playing games that you guys do. Strategy games, those are always kind of fun. Warcraft, Age of Empire, etc. Simulation games, these are nice. These are out of gaming. These are probably the ones that I like, especially the ones where you build things. I really like that. And there's little genre activities. You can kind of work through that, see how many of those things you can get right. And then you have the quiz. So your quiz will be right over here, the unit overview quiz. And it's not worth 36 points. I changed it a little bit. So do your best on it. But by the time you get ready to take the quiz, I'll have a quiz preview posted right in here that'll help you out. So that is the course overview section of the work for this week. So if I go back to schedule, we just covered all of this for week 2. Now we're going to go into week 3, which is going to finish up all the way through section B in the game elements unit. So now we're into the game elements unit, the second part of week 2. And in game elements, we're going to start looking at the components of games. And again, I want to make sure I look at the questions that I need to answer the Class Connect write-up. So what does it mean that gameplay design starts from the top and moves its way down? I mean, what does that mean? Well, I bet we'll find it as we go through this. So this talks a little bit about games, defining different game elements, analyzing the nature of gameplay, how it's changing and evolving, differentiate between different generations of games, old-time games, newer games, different platforms of games, and games, plots, and goals. So those are a bunch of the things. We're not going to reach all of those because we're not doing all of this unit today. Same assignments that you'll do, and again, assignments are worth different points, not these points here. The first assignments, you're going to analyze some game elements. You're going to go into some games here, and then there's a worksheet that you'll record your thoughts on. I'll show that to you. So this worksheet, so you look at 3 games, then you're going to rate the different parts of the game, the story, the characters, the challenges, strategies, etc. as you go through all the games. So you'll do all of those, and as it says here, what's the name of the game? So you'll type that in. What's the link to the game? And you'll rate that game. And you give your overall impression. So you'll do 3 games from those links. Then you'll save this. And once you save it, then you'll upload it into the Dropbox. So that's one of your first assignments. Okay, jumping into Section A. So Section A, I mean, why game playing? Why has this come about? And I need to go back and remind myself what the Class Connect question was, which was gameplay design starts from the top and moves its way down. So I need to remember that. So why play games? You can read through this and learn a little bit about what it does for people when they play games. Gameplay design. So we talked about genres of games earlier, but now this is going to start talking about the different way that games are designed. And again, it's all tied into the elements of gameplay. Down here it talks about the events leading up to final accomplishments or the goals, and sometimes those accomplishments are not as difficult as getting that final goal. And it says right here, game design starts from the top and moves its way down. What that means is that it starts from the goal, then the design makes you go to that goal. So you want to figure out what the goal of the game is, and then you kind of design that way. So that's your answer right here. Start from the goal and then design the appropriate steps to get to that goal while keeping the gamer's interest. So that's the answer to this question on the write-up. Then in setting goals for games, what is a common structure for all games? We need to keep that in mind as we go through the rest of this lesson. So now just looking at different elements of gameplay, talking about way back when Super Mario and the different elements that brought in. And here you can kind of analyze Super Mario, so think about it a little bit, and then you can think and click to see some of the answers there. Innovative gameplay. And this is really important because you want your game to be innovative so that people always are moving forward in the game. And again, our question was, in setting goals for games, what is the common structure of all games? A gameplay quiz, so you'll do that over here, right here, and of course I'll have a review for you, a quiz review. Okay, the last section for week 2. So now we're starting about talk about setting goals. So game solutions are different for everybody, so there need to be different aspects of games as players go along. So the importance of plots and goals, analyzing the winning and losing conditions within games. And you need to know this because when you create your game, you're going to be analyzing and developing winning and losing conditions. Is setting goals. All games use a common structure, an ultimate goal and a number of sub-goals which have to be achieved in order to attain the ultimate goal. So if we go back to our question, it says, what is the common structure of all games? Well, the common structure is that there is an ultimate goal, but then sub-goals which have to be attained along the way. All games are set up that way. So you can read about some of that stuff here. And remember, you need to read this because you're being taught how to design games, and it's important that you know how to about all of this, because when you go to design your game, you want it to meet the standards of all gameplay. So attaining goals, we talk about what goals are. So now this is going to share with you about levels of difficulty, novice to expert, things like that. How do people move from difficulty level to difficulty level? Well, your game is going to have to be designed with that in mind. The winning and losing conditions. So all games have some kind of a finale, whether it's getting across a finish line or whether it is saving a bunch of people or whatever it is, there's some kind of finality, some ending point. And that's part of the winning and losing conditions of games. As you look through it at different levels, there are different conditions that have to be met. Some, if you're unsuccessful, it might just say game over. Others, they might take you, might actually kill you or something like that. So it really depends on the type of game and how it's been designed as to what the winning and losing pieces of it are. Okay, here's the game activity. You're going to go play this game. So play and notice the point system and the winning and losing conditions. So you're going to play this game, so go in there and play it. And then there's a discussion for this. So there's the discussion for it. So you want to reply to this. And finally, the last part for this section is that you're going to do the setting goals quiz, which is right here. And again, I will give you a preview for that setting goals quiz. So that is all for week 2. So just to remind you, let's go back to, actually I'll do it within the course here. Just go back to the week 2 work. I'll click on it, and by Tuesday, or you can start it on Tuesday, so maybe Tuesday and Wednesday you get all this stuff done, then Thursday or Thursday and Friday we get all that stuff done. And remember, turn in the Class Connect right up as you do it. And we just went over the answers for all the Class Connect, right? And last thing to show you, after you do the Class Connect, you just go to the Dropbox. Of course, you do it as a Word document or a word processor document. And once you're in the Dropbox, click right here. And here's where you go ahead and you attach it into the Dropbox. So that's all there is to this. So I look forward to your work coming in.